Hey, welcome everybody. My name's Casey Cook. I'm a busy real estate agent with Coldwell Banker Realty. I also host a website and a platform where local businesses or people doing good things around town can advertise and promote for free. You can hear all of their stories at www.vista411.com. So today I have the privilege of visiting with Sunny Tutoring Services and sitting down with Diane Sunny Goodwin. Sunny is a passionate educator. She's been teaching for over a half of a century. She's dedicating her life to helping students unlock their full potential. Sunny is a master teacher and an educational consultant that helps students of all ages excel and figure out better ways to learn and solve problems in numerous subjects at all different ages all around San Diego County. So welcome to Vista 411, Sunny.
Well, thank you for coming to interview me. This is exciting for me.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you. I'm excited to learn a little bit about your business. So why don't we start with, give us an overview, if you would, about Sunny Tutoring Services, about your business and what you have to offer.
Okay, so pretty much if you need to learn it, we can help you do that.
Okay.
So all kinds of grade levels from pre-K all the way up to college.
Okay.
So all the academic things. I don't really specialize in technical things like coding and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But most of your standard academic type of subjects, everything from reading and math and sciences, I taught independent study, so if it was independent study, we can teach that as well.
Okay. So all of the
core topics in any grade level. And we work with adults and even Marines from Camp Pendleton. Okay. Those who are trying to get ahead and further their career, or maybe people who never really did very well when they were younger. They're in their mid-30s or 40s or even their 50s, and they are all of a sudden in a job where they have to write stuff or do things in math and that they're not capable of doing. We take those folks on as well.
That's very interesting to me because you know, commonly when people think of tutoring, right, you think of college or you think of grade school. You don't think of adults trying to further themselves in their career.
There are a lot of adults out there, and I've worked with people who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and the Marines from Camp Pendleton on the ASVAB because they need that particular test to be able to further their career and move up in ranks.
Got it.
So, and we do SAT prep, pretty much you name it. If it's something that's being done in the core areas of any grade level, we've got it. And what makes me unique is that I have taught all those grade levels myself. So since I know that curriculum inside and out, all the way up and all the way down with the Common Core stuff. That's going on, and I've seen it all. Common Core math, Common Core reading. I hate to tell you, it's the old new math. It's the old new math that we threw out in the 90s because everybody hated it.
Right.
And now we brought it back, repackaged it, and we're calling it Common Core math. Got it. And people hate it just as badly now because they don't understand how to teach it. And of course, I taught it way back in the 90s, so for me, it's easy peasy. Got it. And so there is some advantage to have been around as long as I have. There's not much new under the sun that I haven't seen.
Well, when you say been around as long as you have, so how long have you been in the teaching industry?
I have been teaching since just before I turned 20 years old.
Since just before you turned 20 years old.
And I could tell you my actual age if you'd like to know, but let's say how about 55 years? 55 years in the educational arena and industry. Teaching. Got it. Teaching, every grade level that you can imagine. And I've taught in 4 different states, California, Virginia, Texas, and Minnesota before I came home to continue my work here. Wow. So you have seen, as far as the educational system goes, teaching, you've seen just about everything. All levels, all ages, everything. And then with COVID, had to learn a whole new skill set regarding Zoom and online tutoring and teaching. Yes. And then also the cool thing is because we've taught it all and my credentialed teachers have taught it all, they can actually create lessons for those missing skills that are gone because of COVID. Because of COVID. And there's a real need in that area right now in depends on the child, but if they were in kindergarten and first grade during COVID, they're having a heck of a time reading right now because they don't know phonics and math. Yeah. So if they were in 4th, 5th, or 6th grade during math during that time, those kids are dying in the vine in middle school and high school now. Struggling. So it's a continuum. And having taught it all, I kind of understand all of those areas and how to tailor make an individualized program to fill in the blanks
for what they're missing,
what they missed during all those times. And then you've got other students that weren't identified as special education. They've got issues that nobody figured out. We figure those issues out. We get them the special ed help they get. We help them get to the schools and force the schools to do the assessments that they don't want to do because
well, this is
expensive.
Interesting. So this isn't just normal tutoring. These could be special education.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Custom made for whatever their need is. I mean, I've got students that are Down syndromes that we've worked with. Okay. I've got students that are, obviously ESL, English is a second language. That's just a given in Southern California.
Right.
But, you name, and I've got students that have had brain damage. We're working with one young man that was in a car accident, and he's lost a lot of his brain function. So we're working with him to rebuild that wiring in his brain by education and providing those missing links for all that stuff that happened to him because of his brain damage. So, that's why I say if you can name it, we can probably do it.
It's incredibly diverse.
Yes.
The what you offer.
Unusual.
Very unusual. So what inspired you? You had years of teaching, obviously. So at some point you made a jump, right, from working in establishments to tutoring on your own. What inspired you to make that jump?
Pain and suffering. I hurt my back. Okay. And the school would no longer let me continue teaching. And I was at the top of the salary scale at a time when the schools were all being cut back on the older teachers. They were trying to drum us out, literally, and they refused to take me out of kindergarten, and I could no longer continue doing what I was doing. So I had to take off, and after a year and a half of healing my back and getting myself back together, I laid there the whole time praying, thinking, I came here to teach, so how am I going to do that? And then 5 little kids came to my front door and they needed a teacher. They were Vietnamese, so they were English language learners just from down the street. There was a kindergartner,
probably
2
really
first
eager
graders.
And excited,
Yeah, kindergartner, 2 first graders, and 2 second graders. And their father came to me and said, "Can you teach them?" And I said, "Well, of course." And they said, "Well, can you teach reading?" "Yes." "Math?" "Yes." "Language?" "Yes." You name it, I can teach it. And I took them all in a little ungraded primary in my living room on the floor in there. And because I taught a K-3 ungraded primary in Minnesota.
Sure.
So I could teach all those grade levels
all at once. So you lined them up on your living room floor and started teaching.
No, we sat in a big circle and we just did our thing. And the word spread. The word spread over through McCullough Elementary, and then I started getting requests for middle school and high school and things that I just didn't have time to do. So I was tutoring from 2 in the afternoon to 9 o'clock at night from my kitchen table, driving my poor husband insane. And so I called, I did my praying thing again, and I got, "Call your niece, she can help you." And I called her up and I told her my problem. She said, "It's all right, Aunt Diane, we'll get you," they still come Diane, "we'll get you an independent contractor thing. You can hire independent contractors and you can continue doing what you're doing and service those areas you can't." So that's how Sunny Day Tutoring Services was born.
Got it.
I had this tremendous desire to want to help people, to continue teaching and doing what I consider my personal calling in life.
Sure.
So
educating and helping.
It is empowering, and really not just helping children, but families.
Sure.
Because the parents are struggling.
Absolutely.
And the family dynamic gets to be really difficult when people are arguing and fighting over homework, when the kids don't understand what they're doing and the parents are screaming at them about their bad grades. You get a different person in there, a third party, that can be compassionate and caring and not emotionally involved, and you can
show them the things to do.
Exactly. And you can turn that whole family dynamic around to one of peace and harmony again.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the whole goal here, is to help kids and families and individuals wherever they are go to wherever they want to be and really excel to meet their highest God-given potential.
Got it. So how did, so that's a great story, by the way. Just you're at home wondering what you're going to do.
And 5
praying,
kids come to the front
and kids
door.
come to the door.
Yeah.
Right. So how has your business changed from then? Maybe what you thought it was going to be at the start and to what it is now?
It's changed dramatically. Because in the beginning I thought I'd just hire a tutor here or there to handle, this student or that student that I couldn't handle. And now I've got, it depends on the year, but somewhere between 7 and 11 tutors in the field.
You have 7 to 11 tutors
that are credentialed people and very carefully vetted by me because they must be as dedicated heart and soul as I am to education and helping kids really perform. It cannot just be a job for them.
Right.
It must
I've got
be,
a couple free hours. I'll come do it.
No. It's not a job.
Right.
It's got to be a calling. They have to have many years of teaching experience.
Yep.
They have to have the credentialing and the backgrounds. They have to be able to create their own lessons and supplement whatever the schools aren't doing properly. And lots of times, especially in the special ed arena, we've got a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
The schools are not meeting those needs the way they should be. So my people act as advocates out there to help those special needs students get the services that the schools don't want to give them because it's expensive.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of giving every single child in every single school, everywhere we can, the rights to the kind of education they deserve.
Sure. Now, are most of the tutors that you hire, that you bring on your vetting process, are they former teachers?
They're all pretty much former teachers or currently teaching in the classroom.
That's what I was going to ask.
I won't hire anybody that hasn't got years of teaching experience in the classroom because those students and those young people that are coming out and they've got 1 or 2 years of teaching experience, from my perspective, they don't know enough.
Sure.
They don't know what they're doing. They're still learning. Right. I think my first 5 years were learning how to do it. I think I became a veteran teacher somewhere around year 25.
Got it.
Those are the folks I'm looking for.
Got it.
And a lot of my folks have been teaching for somewhere between 35 and 40 years, and they're still as passionate and lively and enlivened by doing this work as I am.
Sure.
And those are the people I'm looking for.
So if any of those people are out there...
Yeah, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you.
And you'd
especially if you're in Escondido or Encinitas or some of the further reaches. I've got folks, maybe 1 or 2 in San Marcos. I need another tutor or 2 in San Marcos.
Got it.
So yeah.
So if they're out there watching, great. So one of the things that I noticed when I was reading through your website and the information online is that a lot of it, I get a very inclusive type of feeling. Everybody, we have something for everybody. Everybody's welcome. So that comes from you. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? What, special ed and assistance programs do you guys offer?
Well, not only do we do the day-to-day homework help and teaching, etc. I have 2 or 3, specialists that can kind of assess. A lot of times parents don't really realize if their child is special needs or not because the school is not telling them that. The school is not going to say that because the teachers will get in lots of trouble for saying, this person should be tested because the schools, it's expensive. The schools don't want to do it and they just kind of push it all to the side. So if my tutor gets in there and works with a student and then that tutor says to me, I think this child has really special needs, I'll put them with one of my special needs person for an assessment.
Okay.
And that assessment can be done for the same price that we do the hourly teaching tutoring services. And if you want to go to some place privately and have that assessment done, it's going to cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars or maybe thousands. So by doing this with me, the tutor that you're working with, if you tell me, they're way behind, they've had problems since day one and blah, 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 I'll put them them with a tutor that I think will identify whether or not they're special needs or not. And let me tell you, if they're with me, I'm going to know very quickly.
You're going to figure it out.
Yes. So I still have a few students myself because I have to have my kid fix. So, and a lot of my students are borderline. One little child, I think, would easily be in the special ed category if she hadn't been coming to me the way she has for as long as she has. And we literally fixed her math problem from the ground up, and she will no longer need special ed help.
That's wonderful.
She went from struggling to A's in math now that she's in middle school.
So let's talk a little bit about that. If there's somebody at home watching and maybe they have children that are struggling, what are some signs? Is it just struggling with a subject? Could be one subject, could be multiple?
A lot of times when students are having trouble, they shut down. They don't want to go to school. They start to hate school, or they like school, but then they come home and they whine and complain, and they're miserable about trying to do homework.
No,
So they're miserable doing their homework. They don't, they're just not happy, and the parents don't really know what's going on. So you go to a school conference, especially at the elementary grade levels, but you look at the grades and their D's and F's and you don't know what's wrong. That's a good sign that something's going on.
Something's going on.
And you need some extra help. By getting that help earlier rather than later, we can actually change that child's brain.
Got it.
The new research about brains says that the brain is plastic. We used to think that you're born with a certain IQ and you're stuck with that the rest of your life. This is not true.
Got it.
IQ can change. So the sooner you intervene with the ability and the interventions to scaffold that child from one level to the next, the sooner you create neural network connections in the brain that make that child smarter and stronger and more capable learner. So people who just ignore the problem, those kids are stuck. And they will get to that level where they are without any big intervention. The sooner you intervene, the better it is for that child to actually change their brain and how it works.
What's interesting, you used the word scaffolding, because that makes me think that, and I remember when I got out of high school and I was working construction jobs and you wanted to build a building, right? You had to have scaffolding.
It means you have to take them from one level to the next, to the next, to the next, to the
Correct.
next, to the next.
Correct.
And especially reading and math, those are all built on building blocks that start in kindergarten, first, second, and third grade.
That's the support of your scaffolding.
Exactly. And as those, and the newest research in educational theory is that by providing the right kinds of experiences, we can take a student from one level to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, but it has to be incremental. You can't take a student that's at a third grade level, throw him in a fifth grade class, and he's reading at third grade, give him the fifth grade curriculum and expect him to do anything except drown.
Yes.
So you've got to come in at the third grade level with your scaffolding, and you've got to teach them all the missing third grade skills. Then you've got to add the fourth grade skills. Then you've got to get them up to snuff in the fifth grade, and you've got to do that while you're still meeting the needs in the fifth grade classroom.
Correct. Yeah, because it on goes.
So we make a link between the teachers and the school and the parent, and all of us are together in a team.
Yeah.
That's why it's so inclusive, because we want everybody on the same page. Sure. And I have to admit that the elementary school teachers are much better about working individually with the school teachers. However, I've had pretty good luck with even middle school and high school. If the parent is willing to go down and talk personally to the teacher and say, we've got this great tutoring service we're working with. We've got these great tutors on board. Would you please be in communication with them about what's coming up, what the needs are, and how they can prepare that student? Then we can actually not just do what's going on, like I'm doing with one of my students right now. We can pre-teach. So when they come to me and they've got all their homework done and we're up to that A level, then I know that they're the type of student that really needs that little additional help. Then we pre-teach what we know is coming.
For upcoming things,
then they haven't just seen it for the first time and it doesn't blow them out of the water. So, there's a whole, it's an art.
Yeah.
It's a gift, and it's not just...
It's a passion. I can hear it in your voice.
It is. It is. always. It will be probably until my dying breath. But I think when I'm 85, I may retire.
That's going to be it, huh?
I don't know. We'll see. I want to get my little property on the beach and make the world a better place by, I don't know. I mean, I want to travel the world. I want to do a few more things. But
what you're doing, it sounds incredibly rewarding, and it makes me think, is there, without obviously giving up too many specifics, give me an example or story of maybe a kid or somebody you've really helped out and just really benefited.
I remember this one little boy. His first name was Richard. I still remember his last name, but I won't say it.
Sure.
And Richard would go to write something, and he would say cat, and he would tell me C-A-T, and he would go to write it down, and it came out something completely different.
Different every time? Yeah, it was just something different.
Different than cat. He would tell me it was cat, and he would tell me he was writing cat.
Right.
He had what I finally discovered, and I talked to the school about, dysgraphia.
Dysgraphia.
Dysgraphia is a disconnect between the brain and the hand and the writing. So when he went to write something, it came out the wrong thing. So he was afraid to write anything because he knew it wasn't going to be right.
Afraid? Probably
so he was
embarrassed?
shut down. And teachers would ask him to write something, and he would do nothing. So they couldn't have anything to assess him with. And finally, through, I'm just going to call it intuitive awareness, because I have great intuitive gifts when it comes to knowing what's wrong with a kid. I went to the school and I said, we need to have this kid tested. You need to go through this whole process. This is what I suspect. And this is what my tutors will know. They'll know if it's within the realm of normal or whether it's in the realm of, wow, this is really something off the page. We got him tested. We got him assessed and found out that he had this dysgraphia. They brought in special writing tools for him. They brought in a whole slew of stuff, but not easily. We had to advocate for that. My special ed folks had to go to those IEP meetings. That's called Individual Educational Plan. And that IEP meeting, they had to do. We do a mini IEP thing, Individual Educational Plan, for every student that we tutor. But it's not always under the special education umbrella. But that IEP that's under the special educational umbrella, that takes a lot of money from the school district to do that testing and assessment. And I told them, I said, this is what he's got. I know what the problem is. And lo and behold, it came back and they went, yep, it's every single thing you said. And I've seen the same thing with math. The little girl that I have now that's in 6th grade getting an A in math, she had the equivalent of a learning disability in math, but nobody would pick it up. She came to me in 2nd grade doing basically unable to do math at a kindergarten, 1st grade level. She was really behind. We worked with her intently, and over the years, by scaffolding and changing what has happened, she no longer has a learning disability in math. She doesn't even need to be in that situation. And I've seen all kinds of students that if I start them in kindergarten and 1st grade and get to them soon enough, we can ease them out of special education. Now, sometimes when they get to high school, there's not enough support, and the stuff is moving too fast, and then they're going to need some more support again. But I've had more and more people exited from IEPs, special education, than I can even name on.
That's got to feel good for the family, for the child, for everybody.
There are people out there. I've changed those families and those students' lives forever.
Got it. Wow. Yeah, that had to be incredibly rewarding.
Well, I feel so fulfilled and so blessed. I mean, I feel so blessed to be able to do what I do every day and make that kind of difference in life.
Sure. So if somebody's at home and they're watching, right, and perhaps they're struggling, but maybe they don't have the means, right? I know maybe some people don't have the means, even for an outside tutor. What are some things that they can do at home, maybe to help the situation, maybe ease the stress a little bit?
They can, first of all, back off the kid yelling because
Yeah.
whenever you're yelling or getting frustrated with a child, they feel that energy, and it's called an affective filter. Affect meaning the emotional response to that child. And when the child is in an emotionally charged situation, they shut down.
Sure.
Their brain, it's a fight or flight thing that happens at the base of the brain, and everything shuts down and they can't hear you. They can't hear a thing you're saying.
Yeah.
So you have to cool down and speak to them calmly and recognize that they're doing the best that they can.
Yeah.
You may not understand that they're doing the best that they can, but you must absolutely, I always say, connection before correction.
Yeah.
Connect with that child on an emotional level.
Yeah.
Let that child know that you love them and you're trying to understand. And at the middle school level, that can be challenging because they are at that age where their whole thing is to separate and push away the parent.
Parents, right.
So that's sometimes when that doesn't work too well.
Sure.
But if you just keep telling that child, I mean, I had an issue with my own son who wasn't doing too well in school. And I kept saying, you're better than this. I know you are. I know you can do it.
Yeah.
Don't give up on yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, don't give up on yourself. So the
Rather than screaming and shaming.
Right.
Sure.
That's going to just shut down the learning affect. Right. Boom.
Absolutely.
They're not going to learn anything. So that's the one thing you can do at home. Now, the biggest problem you're going to have at home is you don't have the tools to teach them what they need to know.
Yeah.
So I do sometimes work with people on a sliding scale. I sometimes will let them, let's say they can't afford to pay me all of it. I've got one client right now. I did some pro bono with her for a whole month.
Sure.
And she's coming back and she can't afford to pay me, maybe more than once a week or twice a week. Twice a month, but she's going to send me a little bit here and a little bit there. If I know that they are sincere and they really are trying,
and that child really needs
the help.
Yeah.
This is a special education student that needs what the school is not giving that child. So she's going to make me a payment at Thanksgiving when there is no tutoring because they're on vacation. She's going to just kind of go until Christmas and then make me some payments at Christmas time. In general, I do need people to pay me in a timely manner because I'm paying my tutors.
The thing about being in business,
and the thing about it is I'm paying my tutors more than anybody else out there.
Oh, okay.
So if you know you're going to like an A+ learning or Club Z or something like that, they're hiring these kids right out of college. They're paying them $18 to $20 an hour. I'm paying my folks who have years and years of experience twice that.
Got it. Yeah.
And so therefore my fees are going to be higher. But that's only because of the quality of what we're doing. And the thing about the quality is we're going to know what's missing and we're going to be able to fix the problem sooner rather than later.
Rather than tutoring forever with no really good results.
Exactly.
You're targeting the issue.
Yep. And then we're creating lessons to fill in what they don't know.
Got it.
And if you're a brand new teacher or you've been out there only 2 or 3 years, you do not know how to do that.
You do not know how to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what frustrates you the most about our educational system? Or what are some things that frustrate you about our educational system?
Wow. I feel that in many cases we're trying to take a child who's a round peg and stuff them into a square hole. We're supposed to be doing individualized lesson planning. We're supposed to be making arrangements for students with a second language. We're supposed to be following an IEP. What really frustrates me more than anything is there's an IEP in place and the teachers don't even bother to read it. They aren't even looking at the goals. They're not changing their lessons in any way, shape, or form to go with what the goals for that special ed child, what those goals are, what those needs are. They aren't changing any of that. They're just shoving that kid forward through the regular curriculum.
One size fits all.
Yep, and they're not making it, and then they're not fixing it, and they're just failing them onward. And this No Child Left Behind, where we never ever hold a kid back. that to me is also wrong.
Yeah.
If you can hold a child back when they're 4 or 5 and give them another year, or when they're 6 and 7 and give them another year to get caught up, if there's a learning disability, it's going to show up by then, and we're going to know, yes, it's special education. But if you keep pushing them forward, they're just going to drown. It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
Can't be done.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest concern, is the way we shove kids forward when they're not ready.
Yeah.
The way we don't tailor make our homework or our lessons to every child individually. It's a lot of work in the classroom.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Do you think is that a product of the system?
It's a product of the system, and right now it's a product of COVID. Because I even wrote the governor, I called his office, I said, why are we not giving these kids another year? They lost almost a whole year of education when those schools were shut down. And even the online education that they were doing, especially in Oceanside and even in Vista, it was just simply review of everything they've always been taught.
I had kids at home. They were struggling during that time.
And here's the other problem. Middle school and high school kids were being left home alone with the COVID Zoom thing going on. Do you know what they're doing instead of doing what the teachers got on the line?
Whatever they wanted.
They were on their phones and they were ignoring exactly whatever the lesson was, and they were not present.
Yeah.
So you got 30 kids in the Zoom chat room. I know, I was there. And they are not paying one bit of attention to what the teacher is doing for 6 months to a year. And even when they were paying attention, the teacher had no lessons prepared for a Zoom type of lesson. So they didn't have anything printed or ready that could be downloaded and looked at. They're just talking, and it's not working. And that is coming home to roost right now.
Yeah, my son was in 9th grade at that time, and he plays sports. And several of the kids he played sports with reclassified or went back and repeated.
Good.
Because he was coming out of 8th. He didn't. He was coming out of 8th going into 9th, but several of his teammates reclassified and repeated 8th grade.
And that probably was the smartest thing they could do, because they knew they weren't ready. And this whole idea of thinking that every child is magically ready at age 5 is just a bunch of hooey. Every child developmentally matures at a different time. Just think about babies and when they walk. Some babies walk at 9 months. I did. Some babies walk at a year and a half. Some children talk and are saying, like my son, 10-word sentences before they're 2. Other children are barely stringing 3 words together at 3, which is developmentally appropriate for a 3-year-old.
Got it.
Go play ball. 3 words, 3 years old. Developmentally, 4 years, 4 words. And then 5 years and on. And if you understand the developmental milestones of how a child learns and grows, which we and my teachers do, then you're going to not be pushing them to something when they're not ready. Now, for the math brain, developmentally, children become operational somewhere, being able to do operational, and we call it become operational. That means they're able to do abstract thinking in their brain somewhere between the age of 10 or 11 and 13 years old. Our curriculum has been shoved down to the point that we're expecting that operational level to be happening in 5th and 6th grade. There are children whose brains are just not developmentally ready for it yet. And when their little brain gets to that next level of operational development, a light goes on. And the reason I know this is because personally I lived it. I was an 8th grader doing algebra, and my little brain did not get to that developmental level till I was a little bit over 13 years old. I cried myself through algebra for the first half of the school year.
You just didn't get it.
I couldn't get it. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. And at one point or another, my brain got to that next developmental hoop. Think of it as a platform you have to get to. You're going to go up that scaffold, and you're going to sit at this platform until you're ready for that next level of scaffolding. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's exactly what happened in my brain. And when I got to that next level, about mid-year, when I was about 13 and a half years old in 8th grade, boom, It clicked in, and everything in algebra made sense to me forever. I still love doing algebra, factoring equations and all that, because all of a sudden it clicked. But we're taking an 11-year-old kid and telling them you're supposed to be
13-year-old stuff.
And their brain is not ready.
Do girls typically develop quicker than boys?
From birth till about 11 or 12 years old, especially in kindergarten through first and second and third grade, girls are 12 to 18 months ahead of every boy. So the biggest problem we see in those lower grade levels are little boys that are just not ready. Do we give them an extra year? No. Do we give them more support and help? No. We just tell the parents, your kid has a problem.
Right.
It's up to you to fix it. So there's no special... and then we don't have a pipeline, a special divergent program for those learners who are divergent, who learn differently. And now we've got all these kids on the autism spectrum coming into the system.
It is so much more prevalent now.
And for good reason. I did a lot of research on autism, and there are issues with... the food supply and the poisons, like the Roundup and various poisons
toxins,
they are neonatal toxins, and they don't have these problems in Europe because they banned all those kinds of non-GMO and that GMO stuff and all those poisons in Europe. Those children are pretty well just fine, but we didn't do it here. So those chemicals went into their food supply, into their developing brains, and they've got, look at our autism spectrum. It's
you hear
huge.
it all the time now.
It's unbelievably unbelievable. And so we get a lot of those students.
That's what I was going to ask. You probably have a pretty robust program.
It's huge.
For children who are on the spectrum.
Exactly. Exactly. And we can tell whether they're Asperger's or autism itself. And I don't know if you know the difference.
I don't know.
But Asperger's is a very high functioning level of autism. And those children they still have issues. I have a niece living with me now, getting her master's in math at UCSD. She's on the spectrum. And I would say she's more on the Asperger's level.
High functioning.
I mean, she's not really comfortable with people. She doesn't do well in large groups. Only in smaller groups. And then we've got the kids at the high end of the mild. You've got the mild to very moderate autism spectrum, Asperger's being the very mild. And then you've got those kids that are just, they can't cope in a regular classroom at all. And they keep trying to mainstream those kids. And they put them in there, in the regular classroom. And then they have meltdowns and they go crazy and drive the whole classroom nuts because we're trying to mainstream kids that really need more individual help, and there is none.
I could see when my daughter was young, we had her at Cal Ave as a typical, is what they referred to at that time. And she still remembers. I remember one day she came home and there was a child who was struggling, and he went into a breakdown, and my daughter was, what was she,
terrified.
6 or 7?
She was terrified. Traumatized.
She was traumatized, yes. She came home and we had to have several conversations with her. And
I know. There was one student in my husband's school where the principal, they had to send him up to the principal, and he had a huge meltdown, and he was kicking and screaming and hurting people. They had to wrap him in a rug and hold him tightly until he could just calm down.
Those children need special attention.
Absolutely, and they're not getting what they need.
They're not getting it,
And the one-on-one tutoring is awesome because there's only them and one other calm person. And I even have some really severely autistic students that do better Zoom-wise because they aren't even in the same room with another human being.
They're in their comfortable surroundings as well.
Exactly. So if that's what's needed, that's what we do.
Got it. Okay. Wow. Well, I was going to ask you, I think I know the answer to this. I was going to ask you, we talked about your frustrations, what's most rewarding about what you do? And I think I have a good idea of it, but why don't you tell us?
Fixing those kids that people said there's no hope for.
Got it.
And we do it all
Taking
the time.
a child who feels abandoned, doesn't know where to go, is frustrated,
and lost,
figuring it
out, and changing their lives forever. And we do it every day.
Good for you.
And it's a joy. I live
That's what
in
keeps
joy.
you so youthful.
Yes. Yeah, that and good genetics, I
There
think.
you go. There you go. All right. So if somebody's out there and they're interested in learning more about your services, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best thing would be to go to the info button on my website at www.sunnydaytutoring.com.
And we'll post all of this stuff too. Yep.
But the best thing to do is call me personally.
Okay.
My little cell phone is in my ear, and it talks to me whenever anybody calls.
Yeah.
And I think of me as that resource that can figure out what's really going on. And I do a free consultation for at least a half an hour. Oftentimes it'll run longer. My husband says if I got paid for all the time I give away, I make about $1 a minute. And so for me, it's not about making money.
Got it.
For me, it's about helping people.
Yeah.
My profit margins are far lower than anybody else out there that I know.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of making enough to get by, to keep paying for my website, my tutors, and all of that other stuff.
And keep helping people.
And keep helping people. Yeah. It's expensive.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just my website and the stuff to do all of that is like $1,500 to $2,000 a year.
And you've got employees?
They're
1099, independent contractors.
So I've got all that to do, and all the bookkeeping and all that stuff I do myself.
I know about running your own business.
And it was something I never, ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
I want to teach. But if this is what I have to do to make the world a better place, then this is what I will continue to do, because that's what I came here to do.
I love it. Well, it sure sounds like you're making the world a better place.
I try every day. And I hope that every day, everyone I meet leaves me feeling happier and better and more blessed.
You shine some of that sunny on them.
I try.
There you go.
I really
cool.
try.
Well, thank you very much. And for those out there, for those of you tuning in, if somebody you know out there owns a small business, they're doing wonderful things in the community like Sunny is, and they could use some free advertising and promotion help, please send them over to www.vista411.com. They can hit the request to be interviewed button, and I'll take it from there. As a busy realtor, I love getting out and meeting people. I have clients that are always looking for good referrals for tutoring, for plumbing, for electricians, for staging, whatever it may be. So if you know somebody that could use some help, please do let me know. And Sunny, thank you very much for joining me. I have learned a lot. This has been wonderful.
It's my pleasure. I know a lot. And I am looking also for a mini-me. So if there's anybody out there that knows curricula from kindergarten through 12th grade that wants to get into business with me, I want to give this business, at least half of it, when I get ready to retire, to someone that will do what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it. I'm not going to sell it to somebody who just is in it for a profit. This
is great. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So maybe somebody, they'd have to be really passionate, right, about education.
They'd have to know a whole heck of a lot about curriculum from kindergarten and birth to high school and college. And they'd have
as diverse as possible, the better.
Exactly. And all kinds of different students. So English language learners, Samoan people, they have a whole culture of their own in the way that they approach education. So there's a lot that they would need to know, but mostly they would have to want to be able to learn the tutors that I have and their skills and their strengths, and be able to interview a parent and know this is the kind of thing that child needs just by a consultation.
Sure.
So they're going to have to be kind of intuitive and tuned into what goes on with how children learn.
Yeah.
But I'm literally been looking for a mini-me for 5 years, only because my husband wants me to kick up my heels and travel with him. So
Got it. Well, so if you're out there and you think you might be that mini-me and you are passionate about education and helping kids and people of all kinds, reach out to Sunny. This could be the perfect opportunity for you.
I would hope so, because I've been praying. So far it hasn't manifested. I've found 2 or 3 people.
Because you're not ready.
No, it's not time.
Yeah, you're not ready.
It's not time. When it's time, the right person will just walk to the front door. You watch.
There you go.
You did it once.
That's how it started. All right, well, thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Yep.